What's up, YouTube? T-Movies here. Since Richard Linklater's new film, Where'd You Go, Burn, that hits theaters this week, I decided to do my top 10 favorite Richard Linklater movies, because he's actually probably one of my favorite filmmakers. I've always liked Linklater's work, and I mean, kind of surprised he haven't really won an Oscar yet, to be honest, yeah. I always thought he should have been an winning director, but never happened yet. But, with that being said, here's my 10 favorite Richard Linklater films. Alright, coming in at number 10 is this film he did called Me and Orson Welles. Now, it stars Zac Efron as this teen named Richard Samuels, who ends up getting the opportunity of a lifetime when famed director Orson Welles, played by Christian McKay, gives him a very small role in his 1937 production of Julius Caesar. And so, he unexpectedly ends up bursting into the world of pretty much heady world of the stage and all. So, Richard ends up finding himself surrounded by pretty much ambition, clashing egos, and very sheer brilliance and all that. And Zac Efron, I mean, Zac Efron was remarkable in this. He gave a really solid performance, and I think it's probably one of Efron's best performance. I thought Efron was great in this. Christian McKay was really great at playing Orson Welles. You also had Claire Danes in this. I thought Claire Danes was good. Yeah, this was a really interesting period piece film, and great performances all around. I mean, if you guys haven't seen Me and Orson Welles yet, go check it out. Especially if you're always iffy about Zac Efron's acting, because he was magnificent in this film. All right, coming in at number 9 is kind of probably one of his most underrated films, and that's an anime film called Waking Life. Now, the film is pretty much like a revolutionary breakthrough in film animation, and it pretty much features the voice of Wally Wiggins from Dazed and Confused fame, who ends up traveling through a series of encounters and observations in a world that may or may not be a reality at all. So it's pretty much an interesting animation film. I mean, they don't really make anime films like this anymore. These type of computer generation anime films that Richard Linklater has done. They really don't make these type of anime films anymore, and I think it's probably one of Richard. Like I said, it's one of Linklater's most underrated and underappreciated films. Of course, you also had Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy was in this, and they of course appeared in another Linklater film that I'll talk about later on. And yeah, if you guys haven't really seen A Waking Life yet, give it a go. It's really good, and I'm hoping Richard Linklater does another film like this. It's been a while since Richard Linklater done an anime film in this style, and I'll love to see another one from him. All right, coming in at number 8 is a film called Burning. Now, this is probably probably one of his best performances, in my opinion. In the film, Jack Black plays this funeral director named Bernie Teed, who's one of the most beloved residents in this small Texas town. He's a Sunday school teacher. He's a choir member, and he's also a career of spectacular funerals and all. And everyone in Texas loves this guy. He's really nice to everyone and all. But he ends up being this. He ends up pretty much being this widow named Marjorie Nugent, who's a very rich and nasty widow whom no one really likes and all. And so, Bernie and Marjorie have a really good friendship with one another, but she's kind of really cruel to the guy, and so one day he ends up pretty much shooting Marjorie, and he ends up going to jail for it, and everyone despite what he did and all, everyone was still on the guy's side, except for this lawyer played by Matthew McConaughey, who's trying to get Bernie in prison and all. Yeah, Bernie is a really interesting film. it is comedic. It has like a dramatic sense, and I like Jack Black's chemistry with Shirley MacLaine. Matthew McConaughey was good, and this is also based on a true story. And get this, after this might be a little tidbit for you. After Bernie Dent, you know, um, came out of prison, Richard Linklater actually had him, pretty much had Bernie stay with Richard Linklater, which I thought was pretty, cool there. But yeah, if you guys haven't seen Bernie yet, go check it out. It's a really good one. All right, coming in at number 7 is a film. Is another really cool anime film he did. It's called A Scanner Darkly. Now, the film is pretty much where the United States has like lost the war on drugs, and substance D is a very powerful drug that causes bizarre hallucination and has swept the country and all. And so you got this undercover agent named Bob Octor, played by Keanu Reeves, who's one of these undercover agents who's like assigned to immerse himself in the drugs underworld and infiltrate up the supply chain and all. And he has also ended up taking. He also has like a very vision of being in his house with a wife and 2 children in Anaheim, California. And so like he also has two. He also is like friends with these 2 drug addicts played by who's voiced by Woody Harrelson and Robert Downey Jr. And the three end up spending time taking D and having complex, possibly paranoid examinations of their experience and all. And it's based on a book by Philip K. Dick, who also wrote the book for Blade Runner. I really quite enjoy Scanner Darkly. It's also pretty much one of Linklater's most underrated and underappreciated films. It has a really an interesting voice cast. Like he also had a Winona Ryder who lended her voice as a Keanu Reeves' wife. I really like Robert Downey Jr. Woody Harrelson was great. Keanu Reeves was pretty cool. I mean, it's pretty cool that they made these actors literally look like they made these actors' characters literally look like their actor counterpart. I thought that was pretty cool. Because, Keanu Reeves' character literally looks a lot like Keanu Reeves. I thought that was pretty cool to watch. And yeah, if you guys haven't seen Scanner Darkly yet, go check it out. It's a really good one. Coming in at number 6 is a film called Last Flag Flying. Now, the film takes place in 2003, and you got this, this dad named, this fellow, Navy guy named Larry Doc Shepard, who ends up reuniting with his ex-Marines, Sal and Moeller. Now, Doc is played by Steve Carell, while Sal and Moeller are played by Bryan Cranston and Lawrence Fishburne. And he decides to Doc, ends up finding out that his son, who was also like a very young Marine, is killed in the Iraq War. And so, like, Doc, decides to go to a Fargo burial at Arlington Cemetery to pretty much bury his son. And it's a really heartbreaking film, and it is a film about loss, friendship, and I thought Steve Carell was terrific. I liked his chemistry with Lawrence Fishburne and Bryan Cranston. Cicely Tyson was also in this, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, really nice little film. I mean, it is also one of Linklater's most underrated films. Actually, this movie was actually his last film he did before Where to Go Bernadette. I mean, it got released in, I believe, 2017. It got released in, if I'm not mistaken. But it's a really decent little film. And if you guys haven't seen Last Flag Flying, go check it out. And actually, it's also sort of like a spiritual sequel or remake, I should say, to the Jack Nicholson film, The Last Detail. I always keep forgetting about that. But anyway, yeah, go check out Last Flag Flying. It's a really decent film. Coming in at number five is another film that's technically a spiritual sequel to one of this one is a spiritual sequel to one of Linklater's flicks, and that is Everybody Wants Some. Now, the film Everybody Wants Some takes place in Texas in the fall of 1980, and you got Blake Jenner as this college freshman named Jake Bradford, who's he's pretty much like a hotshot pitcher in high school, and he ends up moving into a off-campus house with other members of the college baseball team. And he also ends up falling for Zoe Deutsch's character, who's one of the college girls there, and his and it has a cool cast. Like Blake Jenner was great, Zoe Deutsch. You also had Glenn Powell. You also had Wyatt Russell was in this, and like it's not really much of a sequel or anything, but it actually was like a spiritual sequel to Dazed and Confused, which I'm gonna get to later on. But Everybody Wants Some is a really decent low film, and it actually was in one of my when I did my did a list of my top 10 favorite movies of 2016. Didn't make the video, but I have a list of my 10 favorite movies of 2016. Everybody Wants Some is actually in that list. It's a really great film, and if you guys haven't seen Everybody Wants Some yet, go check it out. It's a really good one. Coming in at number four is going to School of Rock. Now, the film is about this guitarist named Dewey Finn, who played by Jack Black, who has been kicked out of his rock band, and he also faces like a mountain of debts and depression. And he also ends up becoming like a like a substitute teacher for these kids, and he also forms like a rock band with the class. So and he wants and so he pretty much he ends up teaming up with the having like this rock band because he wants them to win the 10,000 prize money in a local band contest, and of course it's called Battle of the Bands. And Jack Black's Dewey character is really good. I thought Jack Black was great in this. It's definitely one of Jack Black's best films. It's actually one of his more memorable movies too. Of course, he also had Sarah Silverman, Joan Cusack, Miranda Cosgrove was in this. Really good cast, and yeah, I really quite like School of Rock. And if you guys still haven't seen School of Rock, go check it out. And not to mention Nickelodeon, one time they actually had like a School of Rock TV show, and Richard Linklater was actually a producer on that. And I thought the TV show was fine. I thought it was pretty decent. But the guy who played Dewey in the TV show, he was cool, but he could not be Jack Black because Jack Black was awesome as his role, and it also has some really cool music. And yeah, if you guys haven't seen School of Rock yet, go check it out. It's a really good one. I still wish we had gotten a sequel like they talked about, but never had that. But whatever. Alright, coming in at number three. Now, I'm just gonna say, number three is going to the Before trilogies. Now, the Before trilogies are really great films. You got Before Sunrise, which got released in 1995. Before Sunset got released in 2004, while Before Midnight got released in 2013. And in Before Sunrise, it starred Ethan Hawke as this American guy named Jesse, who ends up meeting this French woman named Celine, played by Julie Delpy, who's a student returning to Paris. And so it's pretty much them having like long conversations and all, and they end up falling in love. And then with Before Sunset is where is a sequel to Before Sunrise, which ends up starting like 9 years later after as Jesse, played by Hawk, ends up traveling across Europe to and giving readings from like a book that he wrote about the night he spent with Vienna, played by Usling. And of course, they end up once again having conversations. And I mean, this movie is more about like them falling in love and having conversations and all that. And Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy's chemistry is terrific. And also, with Before Midnight, they end up, being they pretty much like become like a official couple. They end up having kids in Before Midnight, and yeah, it's a really like lots of people will literally add this as their favorite trilogies. Like when you think of trilogies, you'll think of Toy Story, you'll think of Star Wars, you'll think of what else? Or you think of The Godfather. Lots of people will literally add the Before trilogies in that list. Which I'm not gonna lie, I mean, the Before trilogies aren't my favorite trilogies or anything, but I can see why people will add this in their favorite trilogy list. They're pretty good films, and they're really nice romance films, and they're films you can watch on Valentine's Day. And Richard Linklater have worked with Ethan Hawke loads of times. Like these two get along really well, and I mean, heck, Richard Linklater even actually appeared in one of Ethan Hawke's directing films the last year, which was Ablaze. So that was pretty cool. But if you guys haven't seen the Before trilogies, go check them out. They're really good. Okay. All right, coming in at number two is going to Boyhood. Now, Boyhood is really a remarkable film because this movie was shot pretty much 12 years. Like this movie was really shot around like the course of 12 years, and I thought it was like no other films has ever done that before. Shoot a movie over the course of 12 years or anything. I think what Richard Linklater did with Boyhood was magnificent. And of course, you also had Ethan Hawke. You had Patricia Arquette, who of course won her Oscar for this movie. And it's pretty much like Boyhood is like a groundbreaking story of growing up as seen through the eyes of this child named Mason, who's played by Eller Coltrane, and he ends up pretty much growing up, on screen before our eyes and all. And you also had Richard Linklater's actual daughter, Lorelai Linklater, is also in this too, so I thought that was pretty cool. So this movie is really filmed about childhood and filmed about adult, like pretty much growing up from a child to a full grown adult. I thought what Richard Linklater what he did with this movie was remarkable, and Ella Coltrane, I thought Ella Coltrane was magnificent in this. Ethan Hawke was terrific. Patricia Arquette was remarkable. I mean, either though I love Birdman, I'm still really surprised Boyhood didn't win the Oscar that year. I literally, because Boyhood did something that no other film's ever done before, and I literally expected Boyhood to actually win the Oscar that year. But hey, I'm no complaint about Birdman winning because I still love Birdman too. So, but yeah, if you guys never had a chance to check out Boyhood, go check it out. It's a really good one. All right, coming in at number one is the film is pretty much Linklater's best work, and it's actually the movie that really put him on the map, and that's going to Dazed and Confused. I mean, Dazed and Confused is a great one. The movie takes place in 1976, and it's where like these rowdy teenagers are celebrating the last day of high school in 1976, and so like the graduating class ends up heading for a popular pool hall and joins a keg party, and so you got this football player named Randall Pink Floyd. Pink Floyd, see what they did there. And he's played by Jason London, who pretty much has promised to focus on the championship game, and he's also absent from partying and all. And so, like me, the incoming freshman tries to avoid from being hazed by the seniors and all. And you also got Ben Affleck, who plays like the sadistic bully here. Wally Wiggins, who was in Waking Life, was in this. You also have Renee Zellweger, Matthew McConaughey, Mila Jovovich, Parker Posey was in this. Really good cast, and it was like a who's who of actors. I mean, it's probably the movie that I guess you could say invented Matthew McConaughey's iconic line. All right, all right, all right. I mean, hey, it's also Matthew McConaughey's most it's actually one of his most iconic films. Like whether it's him staying out from the when he's like staying out from the bowling alley, or saying his hey all right line. I mean, Matthew McConaughey is iconic in this movie, and of course Ben Affleck was cool, Renee Zellweger, Parker Posey. I mean, Wally Wiggins, Jason London. Really great cast, and if you guys never had a chance to check out Dazed and Confused yet, go give it a go. I think you'll enjoy it. But that's pretty much it. Let me do the quick rundown. Number 10, Me and Orson Welles. 9, Waking Life. 8, Bernie. 7, A Scanner Darkly. 6, Last Flag Flying. 5, Everybody Wants Some. 4, School of Rock. 3, The Before Trilogy. 2, Boyhood. 1, Dazed and Confused. Now, Linklater has done other stuff as well. Like his other work includes, actually his really it was Dazed and Confused that really put him on the map. But I believe his first movie was the film Slacker. He also did The Newton Boys, Bad News Bears, Tape. He's done some pretty good stuff. But my 10 is actually the films in my top 10 list are my favorite films of his. I mean, Linklater is just a man. So anyway, let me leave it to you guys. What are some of your favorite Richard Linklater movies? Drop a comment below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell for more notifications. This here is Team Movies signing off.